Listen, we've hit a lot of teams out in the Western Conference, but nobody's talking about the big splash in the East, even though we got their kit on screen right now. How have nobody brought up Philadelphia right now? Another team that sold off tons of players in the offseason, didn't reinvest at all, changed their head coach from somebody who is a perennial top 3, 4 guy, except for one season, to a guy who is as a Red Bull supporter who watched Bradley Carnell ball is hot and cold. He's either really, really good or he's really, really not. You didn't know what you're going to get out of there. And they're pushing for a supporter shield race early in the season. And, you know, are they going to stay there, right? We're talking about these teams that start hot. Are they going to stay there? You just lost your club's leading goal scorer for 4 million to the Columbus Crew, who are top of the Eastern Conference, your own conference, and unbeaten. So you've made them stronger. But well, time will tell for that. But energy drink soccer from Carnell is really, really showing off right now. It's performing well. Baribeau's red hot. The kids are performing. And one of our listeners pointed out they're finally healthy again, right? They've got key pieces back that they didn't have last year, specifically Andre Blake in goal. But even with him being back in that conversation, again, I couldn't have taken 15 guesses and said, yeah, Philly might be punching top three, 25% of the way through the season. It wasn't on my bingo card. So I think it's really, really impressive. Now, I made the joke with a friend of mine that I think Ernst Tanner wants to play on like a super difficult mode. Like he was like, all right, I'm going to get rid of Jack McGlynn. I'm going to get rid of Jim Curtin, and I'm going to ship off Carranza midseason. We're going to run it back with a brand new coach. And then he started doing well. I was like, no, we got to take it up another level. Let's get Gazdag out of here. So this should be really interesting in the next couple of weeks. But Jordan, your thoughts on Philly?
I think if we had this podcast a couple weeks ago, they would be up there for me. I'm so down on them right now. Not even so much for the on the field stuff. It's mostly for the off the field stuff. It almost feels like scoring own goals. I've been a fan of the club since 2010 when they joined the league, and 2011, their first year in the playoffs, it was great. I went to that game against Houston, leg one, and Latu was like my favorite player. And literally after the season, they trade Latu, who at that point was like your all-time goal scorer. I mean, it's only been 2 seasons, but you're like, okay, he's somebody that the fans adored. And then you had the whole like Peter Nowak fallout that happened and whatever he was doing in the locker room and all that. But then, he gets shipped out. We get Jim Curtin, and then eventually we build to a really good quality team that is continuing to compete. And they even bring Latu back at a certain point, right? And I don't know. Then you had all the goodwill. You get to a final in 2022 and then you just don't do anything with that momentum that you have. And since then, it's been a downward trajectory. I was really down on them going into the season because I was like, they fired Curtin, who I had wanted fired back in the day before he started going on his streak. Like when we were losing those Open Cups, I was definitely like, all right, get him out of here. But then we were starting to do well. I'm like, why are we firing him? And then it seemed like it was a good move. Carnell comes in and we're playing well, and then we're third in the East. And we're like, yeah, let's get rid of our all-time leading goal scorer guy. It just feels like flashbacks, and it's a bummer. And I understand like maybe the financial side of it is like Sugarman is not a big owner, but it really is like there's goodwill that they had that they are ruining with the fans uh consistently in the past year and a half. And it's really going to be tough if right now you are still competitive. You are third place in the East. You're only a few points off, and then you give your best goal scorer to the guys that are at the top of that table. And it just seems like now the gap is even wider. And Tanner today was like, we're not replacing him with anybody. We have good youth players right now. And I'm like, it just drives me mad. So we'll see how it goes. But I think I definitely maybe would have highlighted them a couple weeks ago, but now I'm just like severely down. They almost became my most disappointing because of this stuff.
Man, I will tell you, last year as a Red Bull fan, we were sitting in fourth for so long, and like we were locked in for the playoffs, like for the most part. And just the disdain around the fan base, like we suck, we can't win games. Like the vibe around the team was like this has got to be the most down bad team who's sitting in fourth place in the table of all time. And then Philadelphia's like, hold my beer, because watch what
Yep.
I'm about to do. And everybody in Philly is pissed. And you're sitting top of the table like 25% of the season. It's just so funny.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
Well, Andrew, let me take it from here because I have a good transition point for us because I,
go
I will
for it.
say Jordan, one of the teams on my list for most disappointing was Philly for basically all the things that you were just talking
There you
about.
go.
Nothing to do with on the field. And I literally wrote in here because honestly, I wasn't expecting anybody to have the same thought process because it's like it's a team third in the East right now. How are you going to list them off as like one of the most disappointing? But it's
Especially when
like,
expectations were already low going into the
yeah.
season. So you're like, how could you, right? But there's ways. They've done it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's like all the stuff that you were talking about. I think it's all off the field stuff where it's just selling off all of the pieces that like your third place team. Why would you your third place right now? Why would you not want to bolster the team more with like win now ready players to like take a shot at it? Like you're not far off of the supporter shield. You're in a good spot to make a chase for it, and that it's like actually, we're gonna sell off arguably our best player and give it to our conference rivals who we're competing with for top of the Eastern Conference, and we're just gonna run it back with some 16-year-old out of the academy and cross our fingers and hope we can sell him off to Salzburg and make a profit. It's
Their
crazy.
their goal is profitability, but I do wonder how this can like when we actually look at it in like a grand scheme of things. This team was making in grounds in 2022 with like Philadelphia itself. That was the year where all Philly teams were making finals and like the local news was talking about the union and people were getting on board. Then the Apple deal happens, which I'm a fan of, but like there's been some issues with that. It lost local coverage. And then you start the decline of not spending money into the club. And now last year when they fired Jim, it was the most I seen on social media. People were like, "I'm not renewing my tickets." On top of that, then they add the luxury seating right behind the goals, right in front of the Sons of Ben, in the river end, and it's like, what? Like you're just consistently scoring own goals for what they deem as profitability, but how much like if you keep pissing off your fans, will you actually keep gaining profits? That's going to be the main question. But I mean, obviously they made like 4.5 off of Gazdag and like what, like 3 million or 2.5 million off of McGlynn. So you're looking at like 7 million just from those interleague transfers. But I don't know if these kids are ready to to step in for this. Like they already said, I don't think Cavan's going to be filling in for this. So I'm like, who are you making the room for? It's mind blowing. It really is because it seemed like we were on a really good track, and then I put in my time from 2010 to 2022, and I was like, we're doing it. And I was at the watch party in 2022 at Subaru Park, and I was thinking we're about to win this cup, and Gareth Bale gets the header, and then it was all downhill from there, and it's continued to be.
We put them in that category too, just that bucket alone of just being just a negative surprise for allowing the Columbus Crew another chance to become as good as they're going to become
Yeah, they
again.
already have
Like
one of the best coaches. It's like,
they didn't need help, Jordan.
no,
They didn't need help, and they've
No,
got it.
well, it almost feels like everybody against Miami now, right? Like, all right, who's
Yeah,
the best team that could
right.
who could take on my who could take
yeah, yeah,
on Messi?
we'll send him to
Yeah, what do you
Columbus so
want?
that way they can take down Miami.
Yeah, anything. KDB's coming over. Who wants him?
Yeah.
That's right. Miami, KDB, and Messi versus the
Yep.
world.
I think the only thing
Um,
we're missing is we need to send 40-year-old Brad Guzan to Columbus because he's
Yes.
he's the Messi kryptonite.
There you go. There you go.
there it is. All right, well let's continue on then this path with disappointing sides and add on to this because Philly. I mean, it's really interesting. I didn't expect anybody to have Philly there, but obviously they were. But